Right, a Fox News alert on that crisis, that water crisis in Toledo. A short time ago, the mayor of Toledo announcing the lifting of a nearly 3-day ban due to dangerous levels of algae toxins in Lake Erie.
All 6 test results come back with no problems whatsoever. There's no discernible microcystis within these systems. So this entire city at this moment in time, we are lifting in conjunction with the Ohio EPA the no drink advisory. Our water is safe.
Mike Tobin was there for that news conference, and he joins us now live. Mike, if you could bring us up to date.
Well, and I can tell you that Mayor Michael Collins punctuated the end of his news conference saying that the water was safe to drink by taking a big swig of tap water, saying cheers to you, Toledo. So the people in this region can feel safe going back in the shower, taking a drink of water, cooking. Some of the people, they specified those who hadn't used their water since Friday, they need to flush the system, but they're worried about the fact that everybody could turn on all their taps all at the same time and overload the system, creating a whole different problem. But essentially, the crisis is over. The distribution centers for water that the National Guard was staffing, those will be closing in about an hour's time. The whole thing was caused by something they call microcystin, or I guess scientists say it, and that is a toxin created by a blue-green algae. All of that is really supported by water runoff, water that goes through the farms, picks up the fertilizer in the farms, dumps it into the sewers then leaking into ultimately the Great Lakes, and that helps this blue-green algae flourish. What they cannot guarantee is that it won't happen again, because this algae flourishes in what they call a bloom, and the bloom moves around Lake Erie. This time it just happened to get blown around by the wind and the waves in such a way that it was blown over the water intake that services this part of the country.
Well, I know a lot of people there are going to be happy to get back to normal, be able to go to their coffee shops and pick up something to eat, and the businesses will be able to get back to work. This must have been really, really tough on a lot of those local businesses. And now you're talking about everyone flushing their systems to get things back up online. Is this not quite over yet? We've got to wait for the flushing to end and the businesses to ramp back up?
By and large, is particularly punctuated by that visual aid that the mayor used. They want to indicate to everybody that it is over, but you could end up with a whole different problem if everybody flushes the system all at once, because that's going to stress the sewers and the whole plumbing system in the general area. Also, they just could not promise and wouldn't stick their necks out to promise that the problem won't come back, because this bloom, if you look at it from the satellite imagery, it looks just like that, a giant bloom floating around in Lake Erie. It can move back into position depending on the wind and waves.
Wow, well, they'll be watching it. Thank you so much, Mike Tobin, for watching it for us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I want to bring in Dr. Debbie from NYU School of Medicine. Doctor, how are you?
Good morning. Hi, Bill. How are you? It's good to see you.
I'm fine, thank you. How can someone test to know that the water they're about to touch or drink is safe?
Well, a person won't be able to test it by themselves. I mean, I think if the mayor is saying that it's fine to drink the water, that's great. He must be very confident. But at the same time, you know, I would say that if people do have bottled water around, if they have some other alternative, at least for a little while till the system does get flushed out, it is probably better to go that route because the testing is a little bit you know, it depends. It's hard to know what a toxic amount of these substances is because you don't have people to actually test it on. You don't do those kinds of studies.
What is this substance in the western part of Lake Erie anyway? What is that? They say it's algae, but okay.
Well, it's a chemical they produce called microcystin, and we don't know too much about it except that it causes cramps and vomiting, and it's caused problems in other areas. I mean, in the past, it got into a dialysis center in Brazil and affected a bunch of patients there. So it is something we have to be concerned about, but it's hard to know exactly what the toxic dose is.
I used to use a system called Brita. It didn't work in New York, by the way, but it works in most parts of the country. Would you use that kind of a filtration system at home, or is there a kit you can buy at the local drugstore or pharmacy?
There's not a specific kit for this type of algae. It's not something that's common enough for people to be able to create that. I mean, I would suggest if you have bottled water or other foods, I mean, you don't need to have water immediately. Your body is able to get water out of foods that you eat, that would be a better route to go, at least in the beginning. But of course, people who are older, who need more water to be able to sweat in this heat, people who are diabetics who need water to control their sugars and stuff. I mean, for them, you have to weigh the risks and benefits. If you are getting dehydrated or have signs of that, like you're not sweating properly, you're not tearing properly, then it is better to go with drinking the water than taking a chance.
Thank you, Doc. You'd boil it too. Thank you. Dr. D in New York. Thank you.
Nice to see you.